Question 1. In the context of Ista Patel managing an Oracle database instance, he notices that the database startup is unusually slow and suspects that the initialization parameter file may have inefficient settings. What should Ista Patel primarily focus on adjusting to optimize instance startup time? A. Memory structures like SGA and EGA sizes to balance resource allocation. B. Data file sizes within the table spaces to speed up I/O during startup. C. User profiles to reduce resource consumption during connection. D. Network listener parameters to enhance client connectivity speed. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Instance startup performance is primarily influenced by initialization parameters controlling memory allocation, especially GA and EGA sizes, which impact buffer cache, shared pool, and program global areas. Adjusting these parameters can optimize memory use, allowing faster loading of necessary structures and processes. Data files and table space sizes do not significantly affect startup speed, as data occurs later during query execution. User profiles and network listener parameters influence user resource limits and connectivity, respectively, but do not impact the fundamental startup time of the database instance. Question 2. When analyzing the implications of logical versus physical database structures, Chen is designing a new tablespace to optimize data management. Which statement best describes the relationship between logical and physical structures in Oracle? A. Tablespaces are physical files that store data segments directly on disk. B. Logical structures like tablespaces abstract the physical storage but depend on underlying data files. C. Physical structures such as tablespaces are independent of the database schema design. D. Logical structures like data files are directly manipulated by DML orations. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. Logical structures such as tablespaces group data segments and objects logically, but actual storage occurs in physical data files. Tablespaces themselves are not physical files, but logical containers. The data files are physical entities. DML orations manipulate data within logical objects, such as tables, which reside in segments inside tablespaces. They do not directly manipulate files. Understanding the distinction ensures efficient management and scalability. Option D is incorrect because data files are physical, not logical, so direct DML manipulation does not happen at that level. Question 3. Considering the evidence, Ista Garcia is tasked with monitoring active database sessions and wants to analyze current resource usage dynamically. Which Oracle view should he query to get real-time information on active sessions and their resource consumption? A. DBA users. B. vSession. C. User objects. D. All tables. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. To monitor real-time active sessions and resource use, vSession is the dynamic performance view that provides current session details such as user info, status, and resource consumption. DBA users provide static user account info, user objects, and all tables provide metadata about database objects, but none reflect active runtime session activity. V views are critical for performance monitoring, resource management, and troubleshooting dynamic Oracle database activity, making them essential for DBAS managing workload and optimizing performance. Question 4. Based on the information about Oracle managed files, OMF, Istasing wants to simplify storage administration. What is a key benefit of using OMF in Oracle databases? A. Manually specifying data file names for maximum control. B. Automating naming and placement of database files for ease of management. C. Increasing the performance of complex UL queries through indexing. D. Enabling granular control over user privileges and roles. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. OMF automates the naming and management of database files, reducing administrative overhead and minimizing errors by automatically creating files with system-generated names in predefined locations. This simplifies database storage management. However, it does not directly affect SQL query performance or security controls like user privileges, which are managed separately. The benefit is specifically storage simplification and automation rather than manual control, query optimization, or security management. Question 5. While examining Easterly's database backup strategy, he wonders about the fundamental distinction between undo data and redo data. Which explanation correctly defines this difference? A. Undo data records changes to support rollback, while redo data records all changes to recover transactions. B. Undo data logs all committed transactions, whereas redo data tracks uncommitted changes only. C. Redo data is used to revert transactions. Undo data is used for auditing purposes. D. Undo data is stored in archive logs. Redo data is stored in undo tablespaces. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Undo data stores before images of data to support rollback of uncommitted transactions, allowing cancelling of changes before commit. Redo data captures all changes, both committed and uncommitted, to enable database recovery after crashes. Redo logs are essential for media recovery, while undo segments are vital for transactional consistency and reconsistency. Option B misstates roles. Undo data is for uncommitted transactions. Rollback redo logs all changes. Redo data is not for reverting transactions but for recovery. Undo is stored in undo tablespaces. Redo in redo logs. Question 6. Given the circumstances, is Rodriguez needs to create a new user with restricted access but finds assigning individual privileges cumbersome. What is the best practice to efficiently manage user privileges in this situation? A. Assign direct system privileges to each user individually. B. Create roles with grouped privileges and assign roles to users. C. Use profiles to limit the number of sessions per user. D. Grant access through public synonyms for all users. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. The best practice for efficient privilege management is to create roles grouping the necessary privileges and assign these roles to users, reducing administrative complexity and ensuring consistent privilege application. Assigning direct system privileges individually increases complexity and risk of errors. Profiles manage resource limits, not privileges. Public synonyms simplify object naming but do not access. Therefore, creating roles for privilege grouping and assigning roles streamlines security and adheres to the principle of least privilege. Question 7. To illustrate this point, Mr. Thompson needs to manage space within segments of a large table that is growing rapidly. Which approach should he consider to reclaim unused space and optimize storage? A. Dropping the table space containing the table and recreating it. B. Using segment shrink operations to compact and release space within the segment. C. Increasing data file sizes manually to accommodate growth. D. Disabling indexing to free up space. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Segment shrink is a space management feature that compacts table segments by moving rows to eliminate free space, returning unused space to the table space and improving storage utilization without dropping objects or table spaces. Increasing data files accommodates growth but does not reclaim unused space. Dropping table spaces is destructive and impractical for space reclamation. Disabling indexes reduce space temporarily but negatively impacts query performance and is not a recommended storage management practice. Segment shrinking balances performance and storage efficiency. Question 8. From the perspective of Is Davis, who is designing backup policies, what fundamental concept must she understand to ensure data consistency during an online backup of a table space? A. Data files must be offline to guarantee backup consistency. B. Oracle uses redo logs to capture changes made during the backup for recovery. C. Backup operations do not require synchronization with the archive log mode. D. Only physical copies of control files are necessary during backup. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. During online tablespace backups, Oracle relies on redo logs and archive logs to maintain consistency by recording all changes occurring during the backup. Data files remain online, but control files and archive logs are essential to ensure consistent recovery. Therefore, backup operations must include current control files and archived redo logs to enable complete recovery. Physical control files, critical because they store database metadata. Simply taking data file backups without control files and logs does not guarantee recoverability. Offline backups require table spaces to be offline, but online backups rely on redo mechanisms. Question 9. through the lens of performance tuning, Mr. Anderson wants to improve query response time on large datasets. What is the most effective mechanism to achieve this without modifying application SUL? A. Creating appropriate indexes on frequently queried columns. B. Increasing the size of redo log files to minimize log switches. C. Adding more users to parallelize query execution. D. Dropping foreign key constraints to speed up joins. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. Index creation is the primary technique to improve query performance by enabling efficient data access paths without changing SUL. Increasing redo log sizes affects write performance and recovery, not query speed. Adding users alone doesn't parallelize execution unless parallel query features are explicitly used. Without this, adding users increases concurrency but not single query speed. Dropping foreign key constraints may reduce overhead but sacrifices data integrity and is not a performance best practice. Therefore, properly designed indexes are the best non-intrusive solution for performance tuning. Question 10. Among the various methods for data migration, Mr. Ahmed must perform a large volume export and import with minimal downtime. Which Oracle utility is most appropriate for this task? A. SQL Star Loader. B. Data Pump. C. Arman Backup and Restore. D. Oracle Golden Gate. Answer. Correct answer, B. Explanation. Data Pump is Oracle's high-speed export and import utility designed for large data volumes with features like parallelism, network mode, and fine-grained object selection, enabling faster migration with minimal downtime. SQL Star Loader is optimized for loading data from external files, but is slower and less flexible for large database migration. Arman is primarily for backup and recovery, not data migration. Oracle Golden Gate supports real-time replication but requires more compact setup and is used for continuous synchronization, not batch migration. Data Pump's versatility and speed make it the preferred tool for large-scale migration. Question 11. Within the framework of Is Johnson troubleshooting a database instance, she observes frequent log switches causing performance issues. What should she do to mitigate this problem effectively? A. Increase the size of redo log files to reduce frequency of switches. B. Decrease the size of undo table spaces to free up disk space. C. Disable archiving to avoid overhead during log switches. D. Remove indexes on frequently updated tables to reduce logging. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Frequent log switches are often due to small redo log files filling quickly. Increasing redo log file sizes reduces the frequency of switches, improving performance. Decreasing undo table space size has no impact on redo log switches. Disabling archiving is unsafe and can cause data loss, especially in archive-log mode. Removing indexes can reduce DML overhead but also affects query performance, does not directly solve log switch issues. Proper sizing of redo logs is a core tuning approach to balance logging overhead and recovery needs. Question 12. From a practical standpoint, Mr. Kim is designing a new table space for a critical application that must have optimal space management and automatic allocation of free space within segments. Which segment space management option should he choose? A. Manual segment space management for full DBA control. B. Auto segment space management using bitmaps for efficiency. C. Mixed segment space management combining manual and automatic. D. External segment space management by the operating system. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. Oracle provides two main segment space management modes: manual using free lists and automatic using bitmaps. Auto segment space management is preferred for efficiency and automatic free space tracking, reducing contention. Manual requires more DBA intervention. External management by the OS is not a standard Oracle segment space management mode. Mixed management is not an Oracle term. Choosing automatic segment space management improves performance and scalability by reducing block contention in high transaction environments. Question 13. Based on recent studies, Optacata wants to monitor the health of Oracle background processes effectively. Which of the following background processes is primarily responsible for writing dirty buffers from the buffer cache to data files at the log writer? B. SMON System Monitor, EDOBA Database Writer. D. EMON Process Monitor. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. The database writes modified. Dirty buffers from the SGA buffer cache to the physical data files, ensuring data integrity and freeing up buffer cache space. DLU writes redo entries to redo logs, but does not write data blocks. SMON performs instance recovery and cleanup. PMON cleans up failed user processes. Understanding the roles of background processes is critical for performance tuning and troubleshooting Oracle instances. Question 14. To what extent does ISTA Al-Mansuri need to modify initialization parameters when migrating an Oracle database to a new platform with different memory availability? A. All parameters remain unchanged since Oracle handles memory automatically. B. Only memory-related parameters like SGA and EGA sizes must be adjusted to fit the new environment. C. Network parameters need changing to reflect the new hardware. D. User profile parameters require adjustment for memory changes. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Initialization parameters related to memory such as SGA and EGA sizes often require adjustment when migrating to platforms with different hardware capabilities to optimize resource use. Oracle does not automatically adjust all memory parameters perfectly. Network parameters may also need changing for connectivity on new hardware, but user profiles manage resource limits per user and do not affect memory allocation directly. Thus, careful review of memory and network initialization parameters is vital during platform migration to ensure performance and connectivity. Question 15. Taking into account the need for security best practices, is Garcia plans to enforce password complexity and resource limits on users? What Oracle feature should she implement? A. Roles grouping system privileges. B. Profiles defining password and resource policies. C. Views restricting user access to data. D. Table spaces with limited storage for users. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Profiles in Oracle allow DBAS to enforce password policies, complexity expiration, and resource limits, CPU time, concurrent sessions at the user level, supporting security and resource governance. Roles are collections of privileges but do not enforce password or resource limits. Views control data visibility but are related to authentication policies. Table spaces manage storage allocation, do not enforce user-level security policies. Implementing profiles aligns with security best practices and helps protect the database environment from misuse or abuse. Question 16. Given the circumstances, ISTA Robinson is attempting to identify the best tool to diagnose intermittent performance issues by collecting diagnostic data automatically. Which Oracle feature should he utilize? A. Automatic Diagnostic Repository Adder. B. SQL Star Loader Utility. C. Oracle Net Listener Logging. D. Data Pump Export Import. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. The Automatic Diagnostic Repository Adder is Oracle's integrated framework that automatically collects, stores, and manages diagnostic data, including alert logs, trace files, and incidents. Adder facilitates proactive monitoring and troubleshooting. SQL Star Loader is for bulk data loading. Listener Logging tracks network connection activity but not database performance issues. Data Pump is data migration tool, not diagnostic tool. Using Adder enables efficient root cause analysis and faster resolution of performance and stability issues. Question 17. For the purpose of optimizing query plans, ISTA Evans is considering the use of histograms on columns in his database. What is the primary benefit of using histograms in the Oracle Optimizer? A. Enforcing referential integrity between tables. B. Providing detailed data distribution statistics to improve query plan accuracy. C. Reducing storage space used by indexes. D. Enabling parallel execution of SQL statements automatically. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Histograms provide the optimizer with detailed statistics about the distribution of column data, allowing it to estimate selectivity and cardinality more accurately, thus generating more efficient query plans. They do not enforce referential integrity or reduce index storage. Parallel execution is controlled by other parameters. Accurate statistics through histograms are critical in environments with skewed data distributions or columns with uneven value frequencies, enhancing query performance by allowing better execution plan choices. Question 18. In light of recent developments, White is asked to ensure that her Oracle database instance uses the correct control files during startup to prevent inconsistencies. What is the best practice related to control files in this scenario? A. Maintain multiple copies of control files on separate disks and reference or in the initialization parameter. B. Use only one control file to simplify management. C. Control files should be stored in the undo table space. D. Control files are dynamically generated at startup and do not need to be pre-configured. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Oracle best practice is to maintain multiple identical copies of control files on separate disks to prevent single points of failure and list all these copies in the initialization parameter control files. This ensures redundancy and availability. Using only one control file risks data loss. Control files are separate from table spaces and should never be stored in undo table spaces. Control files are dynamically generated but are created and updated by Oracle and must be pre-configured correctly for instance startup. Redundancy in control files is crucial for database reliability. Question 19. Research indicates that Istijang must choose between a dedicated server and a shared server configuration for a multi-user Oracle database. Which scenario best justifies the use of a shared server configuration? A. A small number of users require maximum dedicated resources. B. High number of concurrent users with low individual resource needs to conserve server memory. C. Complex alt transactions requiring dedicated CPU for each session. D. Real-time batch processing with minimal user concurrency. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. Shared server configurations are designed for environments with many concurrent users who individually require fewer resources, conserving memory by multiplexing sessions onto fewer server processes. Dedicated servers provide full resources per user, ideal for complex or resource-intensive transactions. Real-time batch processing usually involves fewer users and benefits from dedicated servers. Therefore, servers are optimal for high concurrency, light resource use scenarios, while dedicated servers fit workloads requiring full resource isolation per session. Question 20. From multiple perspectives, Lewis is planning to move a large dataset from one Oracle database to another with minimal impact on production. Which strategy balances speed and minimal downtime effectively? A. Using SQL star loader for all data export and import. B. Performing full man backups and restoring on target system. C. Employing Oracle data pump with network link mode for direct transfer. D. Manual export import of table data via custom SQL scripts. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Oracle data pump in network link mode allows direct, high-speed data movement between databases over a network without staging data to disk, minimizing downtime and simplifying migration. SQL star loader is slower and requires intermediate files, while man-backup restores are for physical copies and recovery, not ideal for data migration. Custom scripts are error-prone and inefficient. Data pump provides flexibility, performance, and minimal impact on production workloads, making it the preferred approach for large data migrations with tight downtime constraints. Question 21. At the heart of this issue, Lewis is managing undo table spaces and wants to ensure efficient automatic undo management, which is the key benefit of using automatic undo management over manual undo management. A. It requires manual tuning of undo segments to avoid transaction failures. B. It automates retention period management and space allocation for undo data. C. It disables undo data generation for faster transactions. D. It stores undo data outside the database for faster recovery. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. Automatic undo management automates space allocation and retention of undo data, relieving DBAS from manually managing undo segments. It improves transaction consistency and reconsistency and supports flashback features. It does not disable undo data generation. Undo is essential for rollback and read consistency. Undo data is stored inside the undo table space within the database, not out. Manual tuning is minimized in ALM, but the key advantage is automatic and optimized undo retention and space management, leading to better resource use and stability. Question 22. From the perspective of Is Turner, who needs to manage user sessions efficiently, what is the primary advantage of using a shared server architecture over a dedicated server configuration? A. Each user session consumes its own dedicated server process. B. Shared servers reduce memory and CPU usage by multiplexing user connections. C. Shared server configuration guarantees better individual session performance. D. Dedicated servers allow many users to share the same process for efficiency. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Shared server architecture allows multiple user sessions to share a pool of server processes, reducing memory and CPU consumption, which is beneficial for high concurrency with light workloads. Dedicated servers allocate one server process per user, which generally guarantees better performance per session due to dedicated resources, but with higher overhead. Therefore, shared servers reduce resource use but may increase latency, while dedicated servers provide consistent performance. Understanding these trade-offs helps DBaaS optimize based on workload and resource availability. Question 23. Given the circumstances, Istio Patel needs to reduce contention on free lists for a high concurrency table. Which segment space management option helps alleviate this contention most effectively? A. Manual segment space management with multiple free lists. B. Auto segment space management using bitmaps. C. Mixed segment space management with manual and automatic combined. D. Disabling segment space management to allow OS control. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Manual segment space management with multiple free lists allows the database to manage free space blocks via several lists, reducing contention in high concurrency environments. However, it requires DBA configuration and tuning. Automatic segment space management, ASM, using bitmaps is preferred for simplicity and generally better scalability, but in some very high concurrency cases, manual with multiple free lists can reduce contention better. Disabling segment space management or mix modes are not Oracle-supported approaches. Effective space management avoids block contention and improves DML performance. Question 24. With respect to Istio Huang's goal to ensure that Oracle Net Services is configured for high availability, what is key configuration feature he should implement? A. Using static service registration to avoid dynamic listener updates. B. Configuring multiple listeners for failover. C. Implementing listener load balancing and failover with service registration. D. Disabling naming methods to simplify client connections. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Configuring multiple listeners with load balancing and failover provides high availability by allowing clients to connect through alternate listeners if one fails. Static service registration is less flexible than dynamic registration and complicates management. Listener load balancing and failover is mainly managed through dynamic service registration, with the database registering services to listeners. Disabling naming method reduces client connection flexibility and is not a best practice. High availability depends on redundant listeners and proper service registration to ensure seamless failover. Question 25. How might one explain Istio Evans' need to control resource consumption by users in an Oracle database environment? Which tool should he implement? A. Creating roles with specific system privileges. B. Applying profiles to enforce resource limits and password policies. C. Granting public synonyms to restrict data access. D. Using database links to distribute workload. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Profiles are used to enforce resource limits, e.g., CPU time, sessions, and password policies, thus effectively controlling resource consumption by users. Roles manage privileges but do not enforce resource consumption. Public synonyms simplify object naming but do not restrict or control data access or resource usage. Database links facilitate distributed queries, not resource control. Proper use of profiles aligns with security and resource governance policies, ensuring users don't exceed allocated system resources and maintain database stability. Question 26. From multiple perspectives, Is Garcia is evaluating Oracle Data Pump and SQL Loader for data loading tasks. Which feature distinguishes Data Pump for SQL Loader? A. Data Pump supports direct path load, SQL Loader does not. B. Data Pump can perform both export and import operations. Loader is only for loading. C. SQLoader allows network mode loading. Data pump does not. D. Data pump requires manual data file naming. SQLoader automates it. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Data pump supports both direct and conventional path loads, enabling faster, more efficient bulk data transfer. SQLoader supports direct path loads, but is primarily designed for loading flat files into tables and does not support export-import operations. Data pump also supports network mode, whereas SQLoader does not. Data pump automates file naming, especially in Oracle managed files environments, while SQL Star Loader requires manual specification. Data pump is more versatile for large data migrations and export-import scenarios. Question 27. Considering the evidence, ISTA Singh wants to enforce least privilege by grouping privileges to assign to users efficiently. What is the most effective method to do this? A. Grant privileges directly to each user individually. B. Use roles to group privileges and assign roles to users. C. Create multiple user accounts per privilege set. D. Use public synonyms to manage privilege assignment. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. Using roles to group privileges is the most efficient and scalable method for privilege management, supporting the principle of least privilege by allowing easy assignment and revocation. Granting privileges individually is error-prone and hard to manage. Creating multiple user accounts complicates administration and increases security risks. Public synonyms are used for object naming and do not. Privileges. Roles simplify security administration and align with Oracle best practices for managing user access. Question 20. In terms of startup modes, ISTA Johnson must ensure a full database recovery after an unexpected shutdown. Which startup mode allows recovery automatically upon startup? A. Normal startup mode. B. Restricted startup mode. C. Mount startup mode. D. Open startup mode. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Restricted mode allows the database to mount but restricts user access, enabling recovery tasks and maintenance operations before opening the database for general use. Normal startup opens the database without restricting access, unsuitable for recovery tasks. Mount mode mounts the database for recovery or maintenance but does not open it to users. Open mode makes the database fully available but assumes recovery is complete. Restricted mode is preferred when ensuring recovery before full operation, especially after crashes or failures. Question 29. Across different scenarios, ISTA Davis wants to monitor and diagnose problems by viewing historical alert logs and trace files centrally. Which Oracle facility supports this centralized diagnostic data management? A. Oracle Net Listener Logging. B. Automatic Diagnostic Repository Adder. C. Data Pump Log Files. D. SQL Start Plus Command History. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. The Automatic Diagnostic Repository Adder centralizes collection, storage, and management of diagnostic data such as alert logs, trace files, and incident reports, facilitating effective monitoring and troubleshooting. Listener logs capture network activity only. Data pump logs are related to data movement, not diagnostic. SQL Start Plus Command History tracks user commands, not diagnostics, and it is critical for modern Oracle database administration, enabling faster root cause analysis and problem resolution. Question 30. While it is true that ISTA Evans wants to reduce EO contention on data files, which of the following best practice actions should he take related to table space and data file administration? A. Place all data files on the same physical disk for simplicity. B. Distribute data files across multiple physical disks to improve EO performance. C. Use only one data file per table space to reduce management overhead. D. Regularly drop and recreate table spaces to reclaim space. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Distributing data files across multiple physical disks balances EO load and improves performance by reducing contention, making it the recommended best practice. Placing all files on one disk increases contention and bottlenecks. Multiple data files per table space allow for parallel EO but can complicate management. If the choice depends on workload, dropping and recreating table spaces is disruptive, unnecessary for space management. Shrinking or reorganization is preferred. Therefore, spreading data files optimizes performance, and management overhead should be balanced carefully.